everybody, this is Shaun with Rogue Overland.
And I'm Mike with Rogue Overland.
And today, coming at you from beautiful Big Bear, California, we'll be walking through my 2012 Toyota FJ Cruiser.
And this is an awesome truck. I've had a lot of time to spend in it in the front seat, riding with him, and it's got some cool stuff. You're going to like this one. All right, Shaun, I think personally some of the best stuff you've got in this truck, I'm just going to go right to the meat here, is the interior of this thing.
Yep.
You're an electronics guy.
Yep.
You've got some amazing stuff, and everything in this truck has been super clean, well done. So let's just start, I guess maybe start over there on the left-hand side of the steering wheel, and let's just talk about the dash, and we'll just work back and how you've got it laid out.
So starting on the left-hand side, I have all my switches to control everything on the front of the truck. I have all the lights, the dust, and then I have a couple of override switches so I can do those with the key and the key off. Coming over to the center of the dash, I do have heated seats, which is not a factory option, but those being added in have been a plus. I've added in a iPad mount.
This is one of my favorite things in here. This is all custom. Like, you used basically holster material, what do you call it?
Kydex.
Kydex, and formed your own back. Custom fit around the stereo so that your iPad mini just locks onto
so
it,
once
right?
once the magnets were embedded behind the radio, put magnets on the front, actually custom molded the Kydex, and then from there I was able to secure a RAM mount to it, so the iPad comes on and off easily. There's a charge port that is directly to the right hand side. There was a couple factory lights that had been removed, and the Blue Sea USB charge port was added in. Sorry, voltage meter that will monitor both batteries. The switch in the middle position is neutral, nothing gets shown. Left will show the battery voltage for the main and start battery, and when it's flipped to the right, it's actually the auxiliary battery. So
tell us, you mentioned the dual batteries. Go ahead and talk about those really quick too, because you've got cool switch down here. What kit are you running to control those?
So I use the off-grid engineering for all the mounting, the hardware, and all the connections for the batteries. From there, I had a lot of battery cable to run, so I actually ran my own cables. That is hooked up and they're joined with the Blue Sea connector, the ML-ACR, which hands down, in my opinion, is absolutely the best adapter to use for these dual batteries. It works great with solar, it works great with your alternator, any sort of option. The in-cab control here is really nice. I can lock it out when I don't want to use it. I can join them manually or just let it do its thing auto, and I never even worry about it.
Yeah, it's a nice setup. It's clean the way it's put in here too.
Yep. Next to the switches here, I do have factory rear lock, which is come in handy a lot. The front locker and air compressor, or the front locker and the front air compressor, are really great for a lot of the trails we did today out Holcomb Valley. That was definitely instrumental in needing a front locker in a few different tight spots.
Yeah.
There is a compressor in the back that is run off a separate switch, which is more the workhorse for filling up tires and anywhere else.
You're running dual compressors.
So I'm actually running three, a single and a dual.
Nice.
Yeah, it works really well.
That's a lot of air.
They're all joined by a tank, and it makes filling up 35s from 12 PSI basically not a non-factor.
That's nice. Now, watching you wheel this truck is pretty awesome, because I'm an automatic guy.
Yep.
And I'm lazy when it comes to stick. Like, I'd have to learn to wheel all over again to do it this way. But so this is the factory. So it's a factory 6-speed, right?
It does have the short throw shifter, which is very convenient for trying to grab second real quick on some of the bigger, steeper climbs when you're in low. Other than that, one of the nice things Toyota does, instead of running a 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive transfer case, it's actually a limited slip diff, a torsion style, that you have all-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive where it locks that center diff, and then I also have the preserved option of a low range.
And that's only in the 6-speed models, right?
Only in the 6-speeds and only in the FJ
awesome.
For this.
And the short shift on this thing is super tight. It's super crisp. I drove it once.
Yeah.
It's nice. It feels like a sports car in here.
It actually, it is super weird. It drives, it shifts great. Having the 3 pedals down there can get interesting on the trails. I definitely got used today to trying to heel toe from the brake and the gas Only had to use the e-brake once or twice on a couple of the spots
Oh, you killed it today.
to hold in place and not roll back, because that option isn't always preserved.
Awesome. No, you killed it today, man. All right, Shaun, I think the only thing, you've got everything up here on the dash cover. The only thing, you've got some cool radios. I like your mounts up here.
Yeah.
Talk about what radios you're running, and let us know about that.
Yeah, so again, coming from the aircraft side of it, we use adhesive and industrial grade adhesive that works great on airplanes. They're actually, I've seen it done with magnets before. You always end up with different problems. You always end up worrying about them falling off. So these are actually standoffs that are epoxied aircraft-wise to the roof. So minor hole in the roof. From there, they hang and they don't budge an inch on the trails. My big thing, like with the iPad mount, is I don't want any squeaks, rattles, anything I can get rid of to just make it clean, so someone sees it and looks at it and goes, wow, that must be a factory option. As far as radio goes, on top, just run a trusty ICOM 208H.
Good radios.
I've had that radio probably for the better part of the last 10-ish years. Below that is just a nice little Cobra CB. Works great. Another workhorse. Doesn't get used too much on the trails. Typically on the long drives, it's nicer to throw it up for the truckers. The antenna mounts for that, didn't want to spare any expense. So they actually are Frenched into the roof. So they're drilled to the roof.
NMO mounts, right?
NMO mounts directly to the roof. And my theory behind that was I want the best possible range. And I think we've seen that on trails where we're getting your massive amounts of range and blowing people away by just how clear and crisp those comms are. Because, you know, people downplay it and it's great because it works in short trails and you can kind of see the guy in front of you and talk. But at the end of the day, getting that comm out past the next horizon is going to be the more critical part to what could become a safety issue.
Yeah, and you know, the way we roll with our big trips through the desert, I mean, we can get, one, you're kicking up dust, so the guy behind you's got to stay a pretty good piece back. But you get 10 rigs even, you can get miles apart in a Nevada desert road. And CB just doesn't cut it anymore. And the 2 meter, I think it's the only way to go. All right, I think we got everything up here covered. It's a super clean install. I love this truck up here. I want to start talking about the back because you got some neat stuff in the back. But before we get all the way to the rear, I want to know, is it standard practice? Do you always off-road with yellow and pink and blue?
With an array of pool floats?
Rainbow pool floaties back here, or is that something new for this trip?
That's definitely something new for this trip. We, as a group, are coming out today from Big Bear. Ran a couple of these trails. We brought the kids with us this time.
Yep.
So as part of our enjoyment for getting out on the trails and their payment for letting us do this, we took them to the lake, and I guess my truck was the pickup today since Alex's roof rack was taken. So I got a couple of pool floats in here in hopes that the kids don't know yet, but we're going to be doing more at the lake tomorrow.
So we have to bribe the kids with candy and pool and swimming in the lake to get them
put up with our off-roading.
I don't. Yeah. That's the least we can do, I guess.
Yeah.
Back seats all normal, nothing crazy back here.
Back seats for the most part are normal.
You still have back seats?
I still have back seats. Back seats at home. One of them, it's currently out right now. Where I used to have the old fridge mount.
Okay.
Going through the fridge mount now is mounted on top of my toolbox.
Okay.
And from there, it will pull out and actually slide down.
Yeah.
So I can maximize all available space. I needed to get the back seats back in. It wasn't as easy to get some of the stuff. So went in it and invested in a nice little tilt slide to get the fridge out all the way. And so it works well back there in that tight little space. There is not much room left.
No, FTs aren't big in their trunk, are they?
They are not. Yeah. I think I've tried to maximize every available inch.
So talk about that. Let's start at the bottom because you got some really nice boxes you got.
Yeah, so I stole some designs and got some parts from, I think it's Landshark Engineering. They use some really good wood. Got that all cut, and so the slides actually pull out, and they're on Durlin. I didn't want to have anything rattle again, no shakes, bumps, rattles.
That's the drawers are on,
drawers
so they're not on conventional slides.
Correct.
They're actually on. Nice. And that's 2 side-by-side, right?
It's 2 side-by-side. They're pretty decent. The right-hand side keeps all my recovery gear.
Okay.
Left-hand side keeps mainly tools, air hoses, kind of quick access stuff. Okay. There's also quite a bit of spare parts on the right-hand side, which then also has first aid kit in there too. Okay,
awesome. Okay, yeah, so we talked about your drawers. You've got that awesome fridge slide, which my wife is extremely jealous about. Yeah, and you could tell, like, everything you've done has been very meticulous and taken a lot of time.
Absolutely.
So, beautiful as truck's interior. It's a comfortable truck to ride in. I love it. You know, it's one of my favorites. So let's talk about, because this truck, I've had opportunity to cruise some dirt roads in this thing too, and it rides great. Now, I know you always want more.
Absolutely.
Who doesn't?
Right.
But this, if you got an FJ, I think this truck has a very trick setup for a standard travel truck.
It's definitely pushing the limits of what is standard. Up front, I did go with cambered upper control arms. Uniballs work really great for just the travel and the hassle-free of ball joints. I'm always worried about the strength there.
Yeah.
We kind of beat these things up pretty hard, and we ask a lot out of them.
Yeah.
Below that, still factory arm. Basically, everything is factory other than the shocks at that point.
Okay.
They are Fox coilovers.
Okay.
They are the extended length, which is driving the need for the upper control arm.
Now you've done a lot of shock tuning on these guys too, right?
Pretty
They're
extensively.
not off the shelf. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I've gone through. I'd have to pull the numbers somewhere there on a spreadsheet. Ultimately, they have about 60% more rebounds than what they come from factory-wise. Okay. That helps with just the heavy truck not pogoing very much. Yeah. And there's probably about 30 to 35% more compression in there to help slow it down. I would have gone with more to match, but I went with aluminum bumper, and so that made it not needed as bad. Because of the dual batteries and the winch, though, I did jump up from the standard 600-ish coilovers the coils that they bring in, and went ahead with the full 700.
No sway bar, right?
No sway bar.
I know that's something that you and I have talked about a couple times, trying to drill and tap, and found that it's really hard to modify that spring steel.
It is very difficult.
And something we haven't done.
Haven't been able to get that worked yet. Still on the grand scheme of plan to get one back in the front. I know a lot of guys don't like them. It's a pretty iffy topic. Yeah. At the end of the day, I do like having the ability to either have that option. Yeah. And again, I don't want to put it on if it's not safe or clean. Yeah. Or it's going to give me problems on the trail.
Absolutely. So front end works great.
Front end works great.
Your rear end, I don't usually talk about another man's rear end like this, but your rear end moves like crazy.
Yes.
It's factory 4-link.
Factory 4-link.
But it moves.
Factory 4-link has been really good. I jumped on with Metaltech pretty early on.
Yep.
I do like a lot of their stuff. Again, just really well built, strong. Not in the salt climate, so I'm not really worried about the Johnny joints up front that some people have noticed or just discovered issues in the past.
Greasable, rebuildable.
Yeah. The truck gets gone through probably about once a year, depending on the wheeling schedule. Okay. So I have no concern there. Yeah. As far as travel goes, I run the Icon. Actually, I custom ordered an Icon shock that is mirrored off of, again, Metaltech's long travel rear. Okay. Which is slight misnomer. It will travel a little bit more, but it's more about the articulation. And that's what we really need in these trucks, to be able to keep
and this truck articulates like crazy,
just planted on these trails. So one of my favorite part is it's coupled with the Curry anti-rock sway bar.
Yeah, now tell us about that, because that thing, like, to me, sway bar would limit the amount of travel you have, but that thing doesn't seem to, but still keeps you flat on the road.
Still keeps me flat on the road. It gets a little bit body roll from the on-road characteristics.
Yeah, these trucks just would.
Well, just how top heavy these FJs are. It's a full body.
It's an SUV. They're all
exactly.
But this thing still stays pretty planted.
It'll stay there. It's really prevalent in kind of the space dips. Okay. You just see that back end stays flat.
Oh yeah, really well. So, and you custom welded the mounts on for that, or it's a kit, or
the mounts? It came as a kit from AllPro. I'm not entirely sure on their offering still. I swooped that up right away. Mounts had to be welded on the axles. So we pulled the axles out, pulled the tubes, got it all nice and cleaned up out of the way, and then the rest of it had the points bolt on.
Awesome.
And then cut the links a little bit shorter so it stays in the right spot where I want it to. Yeah. They do contact the extensions, but it's not really a factor. And then the way those extensions have been, I did incorporate timber and bump stop straight into that. Okay, cool.
I want to talk about armor you've got on the front and rear of this thing, because you got some nice looking bumpers and sliders too.
Front bumper is a Demella off-road. Originally was going to go with their steel design, going to go flat top. Ended up opting for the 3-hoop, which is come in handy a couple times, if only for just hanging the hammock off of. It also keeps the lights nice and protected. I have 4 Baja Designs XL80s up on the front, and the pockets there's 2 Squadron Pros.
I know it's amber. A lot of light.
There's a lot of lights up there.
It'll blind you in the daytime.
I've heard that many times. It's a complaint we get. I've sadly forgot to turn them off on the road a couple times. It's not a fan of mine. But I do like making sure from the front we get to see the dust, and same thing with the rear. Additionally, that aluminum bumper.
Aluminum. Okay, I was going to ask if it was still aluminum.
From 120 pounds down to like 46.
That's huge.
When I went to buy it, I talked to Jason because I was local at the time, and I asked him to convince me on why do I spend the extra money to go aluminum, and he actually threw the bumper at me. So that was enough, and I just carried it out to the car and drove home with it that day. Backed by that, I have a 9,500 pound come up winch. It's an Australian brand, kind of less known here.
I've heard a lot about them, though. A lot of good things about them.
My favorite thing about it is it has the same brake that holds that one as it does the 16,000 pound winch. So it does a great job of holding when you're trying to pull in and out, and their display of lifting a Jeep from the ground all the way to the top, vertical, and then back down a couple times, kind of did it in. I was able to talk to some of the engineers there, and ultimately was the happiest. Behind that, there's I went with the AllPro Apex skids.
Okay.
That those have definitely taken a beating this weekend.
Oh yeah, today on John Bull, I think you
they
smacked a few rocks with it.
they left their marks. I'm glad I have a little bit extra paint on the shelf. That
those are steel, right?
1/4 inch steel. Definitely wanted to go. I would bite the weight there, keeping the CG low.
Yeah.
So there's the front motor skid plate, which goes from the cross member all the way back to the start of the transmission.
Okay.
And then from the transmission, there's an intermediate skid that goes from there to the first cross member.
Okay.
And then from that cross member, there's actually an additional cross member that gets installed, all squared in with the steel to protect the exhaust and the tail shaft of the actual transfer case.
So you're basically front of the motor all the way back past the transfer case.
Correct. Nice. There is a chink in the armor. There's about 1.5 inch, 2 inch gap between the bumper and the skid plate. And ironically enough, something has found its way in there and sadly taken me out on the trail. That's still in work to get done, but I figured lightning doesn't strike twice in the same place. So we're playing a little risk right now.
Knock on wood.
All the way back, there's an additional of a diff skid that keeps everything down there. I've just been in the scenario where you round too many of those, the hex bolts off on the diff.
Yeah. So
that keeps it nice and good. Looking at some shock skids eventually. Haven't moved that way yet, but
haven't needed them.
Yep. Protection wise, the underside's covered, and then for the rear, went with Metaltech Swing Out. It's their first gen red eye, so it's their full complete kit with the tire carrier, the high lift carrier, as well as the 2 can carrier.
Yeah.
I did modify it so I can put my license plate up a little bit higher, keep it up a little bit out of the way.
Okay.
Holds a 35-inch tire great on that.
Got nice sliders on here too, right, on the side?
Correct. As far as the sliders go, I went with Bay Area Metal Fab. At the time, I didn't want...
Bay Area Metal. BAMF.
BAMF.
I think I've seen their logo like that. Okay.
Yeah, they actually did some cool stuff with making it right in some of the Toyota community you can look up.
Nice.
The sliders at the time, I wanted them pretty much as tucked in as close as I could to the body. I really liked how the factory sliders looked. I really just needed something to be able to high lift off of. At some points, and today and this whole weekend, they've come in handy with just enough of a kick out to get them straight to the tire.
A lot of pivoting on them this weekend.
A lot of pivoting on them this weekend.
A lot of tight trails we've been on.
Definitely going to have to go and get some more rattle can on those.
Cool. I think that's all the armor on this truck, right?
All the armor, yes.
Okay, cool. I want to talk about, a couple weekends ago, we were up in Pioche, Nevada, and I was riding with Shaun here, and I was asking him what intake setup he had, because this thing sounds crazy going down the road, getting on and off of it. It sounds like a race car. I know you got a snorkel. Yep. The motor, I think, is all stock.
Motor is all stock.
We'll just talk about your intake and your engine here.
So as far as the engine goes, I'm a big fan of Toyota. Toyota did it really good. Their motors have been super strong, super powerful, longevity. I've changed the oil in it it was hard to swallow 10,000 miles, but that's what they recommended.
That's in the intervals on it.
The intervals. I've since moved it to 5 since she's over about 130, 140,000. And that's more just because it doesn't get driven as much.
Gotcha.
As far as engine mod work, there's nothing. I do have the exhaust from AllPro when they used to do the high tuck, so that definitely scoots over the axle a little bit more.
Okay.
Hangs out of the way. I've never hung up on it anymore. And then I would end up getting a good deal on a TRD intake.
And that's what sounds so killer under
that
this
box
hood
sounds great
with the snorkel.
And the snorkel about 10 inches away from where you're sitting in the driver's seat and the passenger seat. Sounds mean.
It sounds mean. It's I'm a little jealous of it, I'll be honest. It sounds like you've got more engine than 4 liters under the hood.
Yes.
That's pretty awesome, man. And
so the engine coupled with being geared,
yeah,
definitely has done some advantage.
Yeah. And what gears are you running in?
So in the rear, 456s front and rear.
Front and rear. Okay.
Yeah, rear does have that factory E-locker, which is beautiful. Front, I did end up since I was in there going with the ARB air locker, which again this weekend has come in super handy. And
being able to turn it on and off, because I don't know how your truck is. My 4Runner, when that locker's on, you can't turn the front wheels. And the only other thing I've noticed is on the body of this truck, you pulled the fender flares off recently.
I did.
It looks like you could put a 37 40-inch tire under this truck now. It looks really mean. It changed the entire look of this truck.
I wasn't super into pulling the fenders.
Yeah.
Took some damage on one a little while ago. Yeah. Went to repair it, pulled it off, and kind of dug the look of it.
Nice.
Since it's a white truck, I didn't want to have white on the inside, so went ahead and painted all the inner fenders.
Yeah.
Just to add that touch of cleanliness in there.
Yeah.
Definitely opened up the wheel well a little bit more. I definitely think 37s
they would fit.
Since it's not a daily anymore,
much to get it to fit.
Would be that. I've seen some issues with 40s.
Yeah.
So we might be extending the length of Toyota engineering on those axles.
35s work really good on this truck, but it really looks good opened up like that. It's definitely changed how tough this truck already looked.
I would definitely have to take that body mount chop and go into the cab at the next point. I've already got quite an aggressive chop there. Rolled the lip over to try to make it look a little factory, so you got to kind of scratch your head when you're looking at it.
Yeah.
But definitely that wheel well eats it up.
That's awesome, man. The truck is amazing. I've told you this before. That's all I've noticed about it. Is there anything else you want to talk about this awesome rig?
I made the transition from all-terrains to mud terrains.
Yep.
I know a lot of people are kind of on the fence about a lot of that. As far as when it comes to wheeling, it definitely has paid off dividends on being on the mud terrains.
Yeah, and this isn't your daily anymore.
It's not my daily anymore, but even then, you save some a little bit money. It's a hit and miss. They are full 315 on a 17-inch wheel. So after about first 2,000 miles, they're technically equivalent to the 35 that everyone raves about. I am on the factory Toyota wheels with a little bit of spacer on it. They're the 8 spokes that come off of the later year.
I've got them on my wife's 4th gen. Love these wheels.
They come from the 5th gen, I think, and they have they definitely brought them out in the later years of the FJs before they dropped them.
They're a good looking wheel on this truck.
And then just a small little wheel spacer, but I definitely, if you're on the fence about it, I know I've ran street terrains and we wheeled with them, but I feel like that has taken it to the next level.
Having the big lugs pulling really makes a difference.
Definitely.
Yeah. Anything else, man? This is great, buddy.
No, I think that pretty much sums up everything as a whole.
That's awesome, man. I've told you before, this is probably one of my favorite FJs. If I could fit my family of 5 in one of these things, I would probably carbon copy this truck. I think it's an amazing rig. It's done cleanly. It's put together well. It looks phenomenal. And watching you drive this thing on the trail it's awesome, man.
Yeah, I feel like we became even more this weekend.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you walking me through it. I learned some stuff. I've been around this truck for a while, but I learned some stuff too. This is neat.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
Thanks for hanging out here. For the rest of you all, do appreciate you taking the time to watch this on YouTube. Please make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if you can. We are on all the social media channels at Rogue Overland. We are on Facebook, Instagram, as well as YouTube. So hopefully we'll see you out on the trails next time, and just get out there.
Absolutely. We'll see you out there. And if you see us, ask for a sticker.
Appreciate it.